Yes, okay, we can congratulate you. Okay, what is the agenda of this morning? First of all, I will tell you some word about the Business Science Institute, but you all know Business Science Institute, and I will also give you some information about the latest action and new project that we have. We have always, of course, a lot of projects, thanks to our colleague. And then I will give the floor to the Dean of EIASM School of Management, Professor Marie-Christine Chalut. And thank you, Marie-Christine, for welcoming us today. And then I will give you some information, quick information about this international seminar. That is an exceptional seminar because we are in IAE Lyon, our partner. And then I will give the floor to Professor Jérôme Chabanne-Rive, who has been the Dean of Business of IAE School of Management. And thanks to him, we built this partnership not a long time ago, only 10 years ago. So it's also, and you have understood that it's also a day, a weekend, a week of Birds' Day. So, the Business Science Institute today. You recognize me, the photo didn't change, and the hair are always black, so no change in the world. Okay, the Business Science Institute today. We are, for those who don't know, an international. Each word is important. An international, you can see in the room. Academic, of course, because we are based on faculty, on professor. Network, yes. A network of professors, a network of people of the support team. Organization, because we are an organization. If you have any doubt about that, we give you today the evidence. We are, and proud to be, AMBA accredited. In the world today, only 10 or 12 DBA are AMBA accredited. And we are also, and that's important, IRAFPA certified. IRAFPA, it's a non-for-profit organization in Switzerland. And IRAFPA certified us as a responsible doctoral school. It means that in terms of plagiarism, ethics, we take care about this topic. We are a non-for-profit organization established more than 10 years ago. We had the agreement from the Ministry of Education of the Grand Duché of Luxembourg. Today, we have 208 doctoral students, average age 46, it does not move. And so the day of the defense there will be 50 or 49. And they come from 50, Frederick said 50 nationalities, sometimes 60 different countries. We open in the world roughly 60 cohorts coming from 11 different countries. So, today, 183 DBA theses defended, plus 20 this week. It means that on Friday, we will be very happy to have more than 200 theses defended. As you know, as you all know, in a doctoral program, what is the important issue? It's not the registration at the beginning. It's quite easy to register. And very often in doctoral program, a lot of students are beginning. What is important in a doctoral program is the defense. And we have quite a high rate of success thanks to the follow-up of the organization, thanks to the follow-up of our colleague, of the follow-up of the professor. We have more than 150 professors, 80 of them are supervising theses, and our language are French, you can imagine that, no comment, English, German, thank you to the German guy who is here, Spanish, not yet in the room, but it will be for the future. We opened the Spanish track online 1 year ago, and we are waiting for the students. We are both face-to-face and online. But it's the same degree, the same follow-up, the same organization. But our mission is to make the DBA available for all the students, whatever their situation, whatever their country, whatever their constraints. That's why we decided, before the COVID crisis, the two organizations, face-to-face and also online. In our strategy, we decided at the beginning to focus on the publication of books. Because the manager, they read more books than academic article of our scientific journal. And we publish more than 55 books. Half of them published by our faculty. They tell to our students what is a DBA, how to manage the DBA. And half of them published by the alumni. Generally 9 months, 1 year after the defense. And that's very important because the alumni, they explain us that they have 2 times for the impact. The time of the defense, and then 1 year after, the time of the publication of their book. That's why so many of them publish books. We have, and you can understand that, a very strong partnership with the University of Lyon, with IAE Lyon, since 10 years. I will come back on that. We have also a more recent partnership with ICN. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being here. ICN Business School for a track in sustainable innovation management, a track organized in English and only online, but synchronous, okay, because we have also online asynchronous, and this track is synchronous. And we have in this track students from Japan on one side and Canada on the other side. So you can imagine the jet lag problem we have to face. And that's new. We developed partnership with professional organizations, and we signed a few months ago, thanks to Professor Alain Burlot. I saw him, yes, he's here. Thank you, Alain. We signed a partnership with le Conseil National de l'Ordre des Experts Comptables. It is the organization of the accountant in France. And we organize a DBA, it's always our DBA program, but a specific track on expertise comptable. And it's something that we will develop. Latest action and new project. You know, we always consider that the DBA is more than a degree. The DBA is an opportunity to generate, to create impact. And so, to generate transformation in our organization, in our companies. And you know, we need transformation because all the companies, they face a lot of problems and a big challenge. That's why we decided with the support of some colleagues who are here in the room, a new newsletters on impact knowledge. Every 2 months we will have a specific newsletter that will focus on impact. Impact generated by doctoral students and impact generated by the faculty. We think that's important to develop this new newsletters. And also, to generate more impact, we will innovate in creating new webinars organized by the doctor. Each doctor will have the opportunity to manage with Business Science Institute a webinar on the impact of his own thesis. Part of the latest action and new project, I told you about the partnership with Chartered Accountancy. And also, thanks to Professor Christophe Fournier, who is somewhere in the room, thank you, Christophe, we are negotiating a partnership with a UK professional organization AKAM, Key Account Management. It's in progress, it's not already done, but it means that our mission is to develop the DBA. Our mission is to develop the bridge because academic and industry. And we think that it was an idea that you proposed, Marie-Christine, last year to us. The idea was to use the professional organization to develop the knowledge of the DBA program. We also, thanks to Professor Moscarola, who is here, I saw him somewhere, a research group on IE, of course, and you know, in some doctoral programs, they say, oh, don't touch too high E. We have another position. We consider that IE is a tool and that our doctoral students, they have to use artificial intelligence. And of course, we publish new books, 6 new books this year, mainly the books from our alumni and also from our colleagues. Oh, I've been working a lot. Okay, so I have a question for you. Do you know when an academic publication is considered good? In the case you don't have the answer, I put it on the slide. You know, I help. You know, in Business Science Institute we have a support culture. When it stands the test of time. Okay. I have another question for you. Do you know when an academic partnership is considered good? Hello, nice meeting you. When it stands the test of time. And you know, that is the case of the partnership between 2 very different organizations. Business Science Institute on one side, very small, very specialized organization, IAE School of Management, the largest IAE business school in the university in France. And thanks to the colleague, this partnership lasts 10 years. So, happy anniversary to our 10 years partnership. Thank you, Madame, Dean of IAE Lyon School of Management. Thank you, Jérôme, for initiating this partnership, and congratulations.
I would like to very warmly welcome you at IAE Lyon School of Management. We are proud to host the annual Business Science Institute International Seminar on the symbolic occasion of the 10th year anniversary of our partnership. It's a strong partnership and we are really proud about it, you know it. You have to know it. Because we have a lot of common values. So dear Business Science Institute community, it's an honor to be here today as head of IAE Lyon, but also as a teacher for Business Science Institute, as supervisor for Business Science Institute, as part of the academic committee and strategic committee. So it's really important for me to be here today to welcome you. IAE Lyon is the largest management school in France, public management school in France, and we are part also of the Jean Moulin University Lyon 3, where we are, and also part of University of Lyon. Just to give you some elements about the IAE Lyon. Okay. Some key figures. At IAE Lyon we host over 7,000 students across a wide variety of programs, ranging from bachelor degrees to doctoral degrees, including specialized programs like Executive Doctorate in Business Administration. Welcome again. We also emphasize lifelong learning, offering extensive executive education programs to meet the need of professionals and different stages of their career. One of our key strengths lies on our international orientation with 150 academic partnerships worldwide. EIASM facilitates student exchanges and collaboration with leading universities and business schools globally. This international exposure is a key component in developing our students' ability to navigate today's global business landscape. Furthermore, EIASM is deeply committed to responsible management education, incorporating sustainability and ethics as central themes across our programs. Our goal is to shape future leaders who are not only skilled in business, but also capable of making meaningful contribution to society. It's really important for us, the contribution of the society to our students. Our connection with the business world is another core strength. We have partnerships with over 2,000 companies, providing students with valuable internship opportunities, corporate projects, and networking events. This connection helps ensure that our graduates are well prepared for the job market. Research is another pillar of our institution. Through the Management Research Center, we have about 100 researchers in this research center, and our research deals about international business, human resources, entrepreneurship, marketing, finance, CSR, and so on. It's really dynamic and important for us. This research is not only support our academic programs, but also contributes to the advancement of knowledge in the business world. Finally, with the alumni networks, you are part of our alumni networks. Okay, it's important too. We have, for now, 65,000 professionals that are alumni from EIASM. Our graduates benefit from a strong and dynamic global community that support them throughout their careers. At EIASM, we are committed to preparing the next generation of leaders with the skills, mindsets, and global perspective necessary to thrive in today's fast-changing and complex business environment. So, EIASM is also a member of the EI France, EI France networks. This is 38 public school of management, excellence, public school of management. The network promotes the excellence model of public university-based school of management. And I'm proud to have been elected president of this network starting September this year. So, I wish you a fruitful seminar, and I congratulate you for your achievements. Now I hand it over. It's okay for you, Michel? Okay. I hand it over to Professor Chabanne-Rive, who was the dean of the EIASM 10 years ago, and was therefore at the origin of the partnership with the Business Science Institute. Jérôme will give an inaugural lecture on how navigating global societal challenges in a time of polycrisis while fostering a human-centered future in management, doctoral education, lesson and question from EIASM perspective. Thank you, Jérôme. The floor is yours.
Okay. So it's more than a pleasure to be there, and I would like to thank warmly Professor Michel Kelika, and warmly also Marie-Christine Chalut for the invitation to give this speech at the beginning of this international seminar. I'm really proud of that in the sense that indeed we are celebrating 10 years of partnership, and I think that it was not so difficult to initiate the collaboration because being with an entrepreneurial professor as Michel lead you to think large. Also for doctoral studies and for us, DBA spirit, as at that time we think that it has to be established and to be, we have to learn more from doctoral students having a strong experience. And so I think it's really important in management research. So thank you so much for that invitation and congratulations for this long existence of the partnership and also of BSc. I'm more than glad to have helped a bit at the beginning, but I'm sure that now life is there and you're producing so valuable knowledge and so many books that it's really great to have you in the ecosystem of doctoral studies. So thanks for giving me the floor. I hope that it will bring some interesting dimension to perhaps the thought. So I have tried to simplify the title because it was really too long. And so the idea is how navigating in management doctoral education in the time of polycrisis. I would like to take the perspective of EIASM, the European Institute for Advanced Studies in Management, because I'm a professor in the Lyon School of Management, but also the General Delegate or Executive Director of EIASM. So the institute is located in Brussels, and since more than 50 years try to enhance research in management and also doctoral education. So as we are facing some changes in the ecosystem, I think it's quite interesting to share some lessons from the discussion that we have within the Institute and some surveys that we are also conducting. So that's the aim of my speech. I will try to keep the time. I have good advice at the beginning from Michel, so I will go and I keep the time in my end. So the agenda of this speech will be around, in fact, the contextualization at the beginning, from where I'm speaking, what I have learned since a bit more than 5 years with EIASM, so the EIASM perspective and also the observation we make. Then going to the polycrisis context, because we are really in that polycrisis context, and so how we can navigate in the management doctoral education in that specific time. And what I will go to perhaps some perspective on what should we do as management researcher and both as I would say a junior researcher or senior researcher. So for the contextualization to start, so EIASM, I will go quite quickly with that dimension, but just to give you the spirit of EIASM. So EIASM has been established more than 50 years ago. We have celebrated our 50th anniversary several times because it was during the COVID period, so we have celebrated online, we have celebrated several times face-to-face. So it was good and it has been established by people well known in order with the support of the Ford Foundation. And from the origin it was the idea of raising the profile of European management research. And with the fact of working on the socialization of researchers and also socialization of PhD students. And EIASM is a node of network, I will say, and I will try to show you why, because in fact we are bringing together European management scholars through Europe, but also all over the world. That's why our motto is why we are European in the origin, our motto, we are global in our outlook. In fact, key figures, what we are doing, so we are training doctoral students, so PhD students around between 300 to 400 per year. It's a network of more than 70,000 scientists, and we are organizing events, so between 40 and 50 seminars, workshops, or conference per year. And also we are supporting academic association, the large European academic association. In fact, if we focus on on the doctoral dimension, and here are some pictures from the origin of the Centre Stéphanie. Some of you know that period. From the origin, in fact, the focus was also to doctoral education and organizing, in fact, a doctoral tutorial program. So, as you can see, more than 30 were organized during the first 15 years. And then there has been the creation of a specific program called the EDEN program. It's a graduate school, and so it's EIASM Doctoral Education Network. The idea was to put together, in fact, people will engage in doctoral education in order to supply, in fact, seminars that alone a university is not able to supply. So it's putting together specific forces in order to, in fact, be able to enhance the quality of doctoral education. So it has been established in 1988, and you can see that since that period it's more than 7,700 PhD students who have been involved in that. We are organizing it's around 20 doctoral seminars a year in that approach, and in fact we are also subsidizing scholarship in order to reduce the cost of that education. EIASM is a non-for-profit organization, and so that's really important for us. If I just focus on that, on doctoral training, doctoral education, as I mentioned, in fact, around 20, but you can see that it's decreasing last year. So since the COVID-19, we are facing big changes in doctoral education, in the needs of the doctoral student, in the requirement of the doctoral school. So there is a strong evolution. And here, in fact, in that figure, it's the number of seminars organized here, and on the left side is the number of students. So you can see during the last 25 years, it has increased, and we are at that level of 300, around 300. But we are here with the COVID, it's decreasing, and so we are facing that decrease. The specificities of those seminars, it's the international dimension, because it's socialization but with an international level. So here you can see that we have, it's the number of participants per country. So it's not the citizenship of the participant, but more, it's the nationality of the doctoral school from where they are coming. And we have a good representation of European countries with a strong Nordic orientation since the origin, because also we have developed cooperation with national doctoral networks. That's the case in Finland with Kataja, as doctoral education in Finland is organized nationally. So that's exactly the system of networking in order to reduce the cost. Why? So I'm showing here, it's also the evolution during the last, I will say, 10 years. And you can see that we are facing, since the period of COVID, a decrease quite in all the nationalities, so it's more difficult to organize the seminar. So it has, it's those, here you can see the Nordic dimension of our network. But globally, in all the countries, we can see that we have less participants, so it's giving us quite a lot of trouble organizationally, but also question about the role and the mission, how we have to evolve. We have changed mode of delivery, doing more online and things like that, which was really not the case. Evolution, but we can see that there is a reduction of the number. We are providing that doctoral education, and also we are providing, in fact, academic events, that is a workshop for academic people, and within those workshops, you have sometimes doctoral workshop also included. So globally, it's around 20 per year. You see, we are reaching more than 40 nationalities. And the winning is to push the boundaries of management research and doctoral students and faculty. In the same time, so we are not of network, because it's a cross of networks. So you can see that we have those events that I was just previously mentioning. It's really entrepreneurial, so it's communities of academics working together. And so the idea, it's like we are supporting those initiatives. And it's the same with European Association. We are hosting them in the Brussels premises and supporting, in fact, the admin, I would say, services to them. So that's for EAA, that's for EDAMBA, the European Doctoral Academy, EFA, so for finance, EIBA, international business, EMAC marketing, EURAM, so the European Academy, and EUROMA for operation management, EAA is for accountant for sure. So, in fact, we have that, and we have also the support of an academic council, and it will be important for me to introduce that to you, because academic council is composed of institutions supporting us, providing to us membership, institutional membership, and there are several benefits for that, but among which, in fact, the main purpose was, in fact, to enable closer ties with those institutions which support since the origin for some of them EIASM, and also to provide a forum for discussion. And so I tried around that presentation to bring you some of the last insight from those, in fact, forum, and to give you an idea about that. So we are normally meeting each year and focusing on specific subjects. So in 2021, it was close to the year of the celebration of the 50th anniversary. It was online, but we decided, in fact, to look after the role during the last 50 years of EIASM in doctoral education, but also what will be the new needs and requirements for the next 50. In 2023, we were in Paris, in ESCP, and we focused on artificial intelligence, technologies, new technologies, and the future of doctoral education and research in management. And last year, it was that question of polycrisis, it was that question of grand challenge, and how, in fact, we are navigating through this context of polycrisis. So for us, for sure, we try also to make our practices evolving in order to be more interdisciplinary, and also to keep the enhancement of the quality of research and of doctoral education. So that was the short introduction, and I have some instruction to go quickly with that. And the idea also here are bringing you some of the outcomes that we have, the observation that we make around evolution. So it's the main outcomes from current surveys that we are conducting. But it's like that, yeah? Is that moving? Yeah. It's a particular part of the presentation. In fact, here I want to give you its survey that we have conducted last spring. It was a qualitative survey with key experts in management education in Europe. Yeah, that's to say, president and chair of the major European association. Michel was also part of the panel as leading a very large network of doctoral education. And so we asked them about the evolution of, in fact, the expectation, but also the needs that they feel. And so here is, so it was interviews with close to 20 key experts. And so that's the main outcomes that we have here. The COVID crisis appeared to be an accelerator of the complexity of the environment, and it has increased the questioning of the impact of research. We are facing, in Europe, a financial crisis in doctoral education. It's something which is very important in some countries. I have in mind, for example, Netherlands, where they have to divide by 3 the financial support to doctoral education. That's to say, for major player, it's cutting seminars a lot and putting things together. And it's something that we can see that evolution. So the competition for funding is increasing a lot. We can see restricting opportunities and the race for doctoral funding. In the same time, we have new subjects of interest about sustainability for sure, and artificial intelligence, about also mental health of the research community, and about the relationship with thesis supervision. How more things are focusing on that specific topic. It's there is a call for some changes in teaching and also practice and protocol. We are just launching this week a large survey for PhDs and supervisor, PhD supervisor on the evolution of the needs. Because we really feel a strong evolution. Our key partners, the top doctoral programs, are feeling the same, so we really want to see where we are going or to have a better idea of that. One topic which is always remaining from that survey is about the interference of private life in the academic life and the weakening of private and academic socialization at the same time. So we have lots of paradoxal and dilemma that we can see. Here is one of them, because the reduction of the international events provide to a doctoral education is reducing also part of that socialization and the creation of networks, because the idea is creating networks for the future. We can see also globally a decline of interest in academia, a decline in the flow of PhD students, a loss of attractiveness of the PhD in favor of the industry, and a growing interest in the academic from working professionals, which is, I think, here we have exactly also, I think, one of key proof of practice on that. Sorry for, again, it's special the way that it's appearing here. So we have 12 key elements from those surveys. On 7, so we can see that we have a big change for us organizing international events. There is a reduction of the travel due to, in fact, reduction of budget cuts, but also due to some engagement in terms of sustainability. So we are less going too far away, so we try to have more central locations that are reachable by train, by bicycles and so on. So, but it's a huge evolution, and we can feel a strong evolution among doctoral students profile for that. There is a boom in internationalization at the same time in terms of international doctoral students, but in parallel a kind of deglobalization. You can see that there is strong evolution in some elements. In fact, there is a reduction of the international dimension, but there is a willing for more in the same time. Sure, interdisciplinarity is asked a lot, not really well understood from usually the traditional PhD profile students. When we are serving that, it's not something, it's really a subject for senior faculty, it seems, because it's a subject where there is a lot of interest. It seems to be a solution, but it's from the junior, they look at that and say, okay, we have to do, but is that so much interest in that? Hyper-competition for publication and consumerization of doctorate, it's also something which is coming, evolution of the perception of the doctoral studies. And we can see some change in the profile of doctoral students in terms of personality, all the experts give us the same trend. So an evolution with more individual or perhaps less collective profile, less young profile, and much more international and much more professional active. It's really an evolution of those doctoral profiles. There is a need to intensify the digital access to network, so it's digitalization of the network. It's something which is complex for us, I would say, for all the people engaged in those European networks. And there is a call and a need from PhD students to train them in academic networking and for personal development. And lastly, a need for openness and collaboration between networks and for diversity and interdisciplinary, encouraging mentoring and for sure trust. So that's the vision that we have here from the perspective of the first surveys that bring to us that idea. As I mentioned, we have decided this spring, so it was in Palermo in April, that we have a meeting of our academic council representative, and we have focused on the polycrisis context. So the polycrisis, the question what it is, you probably know well. It's a useful way of looking at the world right now. If you feel that you are facing multiple challenges affecting the world simultaneously, you're not alone. That's that concept of polycrisis. So it was first coined in the 70s. It was a concept developed by Edgar Morin. It was picked up by Jean-Claude Juncker during the crisis in order to show the fact that, in fact, those crises are coming together with multiple influences, and it's difficult to be able to understand what is going on here. So it has been popularized by Adam Tooze, a professor of history in Columbia, so saying if you have been feeling confused and has thought everything is impacting on you at the same time, this is not personal, and this is not a private experience, this is actually a collective experience. And it's also important to have that collective dimension. So it has been shown with the World Economic Forum has tried to map those polycrises with different types of origins, so level of relative influence, level of risk influence, in terms of economic, environmental, geopolitical, societal, and technological crisis. So a big note here. Nuran Akour was one of our guests from Glasgow University, and she tried to show the polycrisis as a big picture. It illuminates how global crises are interconnected, and worsening one another. So that's to say that the shock of those crises, the polycrises, are disparate, but they interact, and so the world is even more than the sum of the part. Again, from Adam Tooze. Sibel Yamak, the former president of EIASM and also member of our board, explained here the different types of crises. She showed we have the climate crisis, we have geopolitical tension, economic instability, political turmoil, war, technological disruption, healthcare crisis, food and water insecurity, migration, energy crisis. So that's a big picture there. What it's bringing as question and dilemma to us. So that here I have tried to take the insight of the discussion that we have had during one afternoon around that subject. I'm sorry again for this complex presentation of the things. The question is also, do we really need more research addressing those major crises? Because we can think that we have done some study on that, but globally we said not on the interaction between the crises. And it's here that there is something, the collective dimension of the impact and also the interaction. So the question is, how are we able to document the ambiguity and the uncertainty that define our management research error, lighting the profound lack of understanding regarding our current state, and how we can generate new knowledge on that. Sorry, the next slide is also a bit particular. In the presentation, the management research agenda in that time of polycrisis here, again, I'm referring to Sibel Yamak. So that was a thought from this year, and she thinks that, in fact, the three most important crises for her are those ones: the climate crisis, which required urgent action to mitigate and adapt, in fact, the impact. Then the environmental degradation. So here it's the question of the efficiency and how we are using the resources. So it's the question and the challenge of restoring and protecting the system, which is crucial. And lastly, it's the technological disruption. So here is the question of how we will address and what are the implications of this disruptive technology in which we must navigate. So that's, I would say, a big picture of that crisis. In that dimension, Sibel also show us that those crises are really interconnected, they are mutually reinforcing, with the effect of one crisis often amplifying or exacerbating the impact of the others. So for the researcher, the discussion during this forum, they show us that in order to addressing the polycrisis, there is a strong requirement for a holistic and systemic approach that recognizes the interconnected of these challenges and the need for coordinated, multilateral and interdisciplinary effort involving quite a lot of stakeholders. That's the government, the business, the civil society and the individual working together to develop sustainable and equitable solutions. And at the same time, we know, and I think several here, that in the education, the approach of the subject of the complexities perhaps and the systemic vision is perhaps less there than it was in the past. So what we are doing exactly in terms of education in order to give, in fact, assets to people in order to address, in fact, the crisis. Perhaps here I want to focus on what has been done, the success and failure in addressing polycrisis. Again, it was elements, and Sibel Yamak here is quite strong in saying the academic research is also on crisis. And why? Because academic research significantly shifts with a growing emphasis on quantifying and evaluating scholarly output from metrics like journal impact factors. But this pop culture, so Martin Hers has focused quite a lot on that. It has created an environment that prioritizes publishing in prestigious journals over the other form of dissemination, often at the expense of relevant and meaningful research. Also, I think that what is done here in that network shows us another way of doing, but it's the trends that we are facing, and it's also the influence on the profile of our youngest colleagues. And so the current system is criticized for its detachment from societal challenges, its perpetuation of neoliberal principles, and its potential to incentivize scientific misconduct. So with all those things, the discussion also focused quite a lot on the impact of the metrics and the ranking, showing that here three consequences seems to be there: the scientific misconduct, so the ranking system and the overemphasis on metrics have been linked to scientific misconduct, as scholars may feel pressure to prioritize publication more than meaningful research. We can see also the citation, overemphasis, current impact assessment may lead to an overemphasis on citation and potentially undermining open access, diversity and the exploration of societal challenges as a research topic. And also with the reference to Sui and McKernan and the limitation of theories and methodologies, the socialization of our young scholars focused to secure objects and topics aligned with the well-established field of inquiry limits. The use of innovative theories and methodology is not so pushed there, and we know that it's also so important to address, in fact, complex global issues. So it's some paradox that we are facing, and so what we can see in addressing those grand challenges and polycrisis. Three, I will say, observations there. In fact, we discussed the fact that it seems that those subjects of polycrisis, of grand challenge, has a limited research interest. When you are looking, Arla Fleming have done a survey on, in fact, the article in the prestigious journal, how many of them are addressing one challenge? It's less than 3%. In shifting, a shift also in the corporate priorities, that's the reverse. We can see that even if it's perhaps more, it's not, we can discuss the reality of the practices, but major business organizations, such it has been shown in the World Economic Forum and Business Roundtable, they have revised their statement of purpose, replacing shareholder primacy with stakeholder primacy and expressing an affinity with environmental and social issues. And so the observation, the last one, was that there is a need for curriculum overhaul. In terms of management research, publishing and education, we are relatively slow in addressing the grand challenge. And at the same time, as the pressure is so strong, it's necessitating a radical overhaul of management curricula and research focus, including revising teaching material and the emancipation of research topic, as it has been shown by Chabanne-Rive in her last publication. In the meantime, we have some nice initiative and dynamic initiative here. I just want to mention PRIME for sure, PRME. So the Principle for Responsible Management Education. It's a United Nations supported initiative to advance social, environmental, and economic sustainability in schools around the world, and quite a lot of universities are engaged in that dimension. We have also what we call RRBM, so Responsible Research in Business and Management Initiative. It's a virtual organization to address the scientific utility, the usefulness of management research, with several principles in order to address that. And I want also to show the initiative of one of our sister associations, Jérôme, which has since several years made link with SDGs, so Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. Now for all the 6, so it's the strategic interest group of ERAM. They have the need to associate their purpose with the SDGs and drawing the links between research and grand challenges. So it's some initiative showing the fact that there is a willing there. We can see also that we know that in management education there is a role of the accreditation agencies, and here for sure they have moved. The FMD has integrated the RRBM principle in its EQUIS guideline. EIASM has done a strong standard revision in 2020, and so it's concerning more than 1,000 business schools. And the academic publishing transformation, more and more we can see translation of these changes to the context of academic publishing. It's yet to develop, but we know that there are discussions, and those criteria are now integrated in the criteria of review and also for the ranking of those reviews. So here it's, in fact, we can see different type of trends. The principle of responsible research, that service to society, valuing plurality, some methodology, stakeholder involvement, impact on stakeholders, and the broad dissemination. And we feel that there should be the key stone of the journey that we are producing. In order to perhaps end with that presentation, what should we do as management researcher? Here there has been a very nice discussion during the last ERAM conference in Bath, and with Chabanne-Rive, and here I'm taking some of the points that are shown by Julien as being a transform academic research model. That's the open science, that's the cultural shift, changing the academic publishing culture. It's a long-term transformational project, but it's requiring collective effort from scholars, from institutions too, and from the stakeholder to prioritize meaningful research, ethical practice, and societal impact. Also the inclusive knowledge, in the sense that we have to be more inclusive and diverse in the academic landscape, and I think that's why it's so important to have also the initiative of the EIASM, because it's another type of doctoral education which is providing a lot of inclusiveness for us. And for Julien also the posthumanism paradigm. So it's looking for a better practitioner academic collaboration and a better interdisciplinary collaboration. I think it's very important stone in our garden. In order to finish there, perhaps from Martin Huss and Sibeli Hamak in 2023, they find the fact that we have to redefine scholarly identity. So the challenging statistical and ideological and moral basis of common knowledge about society, organization, and management, asking perhaps some uncomfortable questions that we have in our garden, and setting an example for the young scholar and shape their socialization accordingly, shifting the focus from publication to conducting research that address the real-life problems. So for us, it's really important perspective and goals for doctoral education in Europe, and it was mainly what I want to share with you. So the idea from Sibel and Martin is being curious and dubious, questioning our impact, and valuing context and indigenous perspective. Last one, I think, is the conclusion of the panel discussion. So our experts were Murat Lacour, Kirsi Maria Blanquist, Petra de Bernay-Lerhoff, and Sibel Yamak. And in fact, it's kind of a strategic orientation that they are giving to us. First is adopting a multidisciplinary approach to have a more holistic picture of complex crises, to embrace complexity, to incorporate qualitative and quantitative data for the mix, to foster open dialogue and debate, which help to unpack the situation, to engage with stakeholders, direct engagement with those affected by the polar crisis, and so it can bring us real-world implications of theoretical research. And lastly, new type of open innovation, responsible innovation, and also the focus on conducting longitudinal studies versus snapshot studies. It's quite important. So that was all in order to generate new insight with responsible innovation principle that I want to share from what we have in our landscape, how we try to navigate to make an evolution of our doctoral, in fact, offer. And to conclude, as I mentioned, we are conducting surveys. We are launching large surveys at the European level. So if Michel agrees, I will transfer the link to those surveys addressing doctoral students and also PhD supervisors, because we really need to understand more what are the requirements and the needs for the future. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm sorry for this.
Introduce yourself and you ask your question.
I am Professor Yvon Péqueux. So I shall challenge, and that's why some people in the room love me and others hate me. The first reaction is, if I take a metaphor, your expose is as if alcoholic people were speaking about sobriety in a bar. In fact, we are part of this. We repeat, and repeat, but we don't do this. Especially, I know personally Sibel. Sibel is still in the publisher parish. So, how is it possible on one hand to do this and in other hand to say others? That's the first thing. The second thing is the harsh critique I shall give to polycrisis. First, if it is a polycrisis, it is not a crisis, because if everything is crisis, it has no meaning. And the second thing is, if it is a challenge, it is as if we were out of the crisis. So if there are crises everywhere, how is it possible to be out of? We are part of this crisis. And the last argument is the polycrisis in itself is a causalist approach. And in fact, if we enter such in problem with such a view, it will be unsolvable, because the causalist approach is completely irrelevant in front of this way of acting or reflecting. So, sorry, I don't want to say that it is silly. But I want to say that we need a deeper approach about this. And so I am also part of a lot of, I would say, fora. And in this fora, to reach a consensus, we mitigate so much that then after, it's mild water.
Thank you, Yvon, for this demonstration of the academic world. And please. Jérôme, three questions.
Yeah, perhaps I will answer in 2021. We focus a lot on interdisciplinarity, and in fact, at the end, the question was that it's bringing no value to the career, so how can we change the system? And one of the attendants said, but we are the one who can decide. We are whole member of board, of journals, editor, so collectively we can do, but nothing happened. So it was exactly what you mentioned. Those people, and sometimes it's, I would say, some washing. I don't know how to qualify it, but it's washing in the sense that we are doing that. So we have said. But the action is not really there. Perhaps we do think that what is also a question for us is seeing the reduction of the international cooperation and collaboration as a value, because it seems that it's there, we can address more. If there is a reduction, if our doctoral students are less facing international exposure, it's also something negative for the future, because it seems to us that at that level it's quite important, and also perhaps why we ask the result of the third survey if there is a European move for doctoral students. And perhaps it's the humanistic approach and the dissertation approach, which is still there in Europe, but facing also strong evolution. That's my...
Thank you. Thank you, Yvonne, for your question. Of course, we are part of the crisis, but the solution is here.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. I'm sitting also as a former doctoral attendant of one of the first EIASM. So congratulations for the wonderful job which has been made since some decades. And for the very interesting and suggesting presentation, which is not only an institutional presentation, but also opening different tracks of reflection. I have two comments. The first one is regarding the polycrisis concept, and in tune with Yvonne's remark. I'm wondering whether are we speaking of polycrisis in the sense that we have different crises converging to some extent and interacting, or are we speaking of systemic crisis, which is a completely different situation, which is one element of crisis, technological, global heating, and so on, are creating effects in other dimensions, and with a snowball effect in some way. And the way to address the two different concepts, systemic crisis or polycrisis, could be very different also in terms of management. And my second comment is completely on a different way. It's more institutional in some way. Regarding the development of sustainable and research and ethical concerns that you mentioned, and of course everybody can only support such perspective. But in some way, I'm wondering in which extent the development of institutions like the one you mentioned do not create additional procedure in terms of compliance, how to be sure that the research we are making, the interviews are compliant with the concern, the rule, and criteria set. And additionally in some way, a new and additional constraints and difficulty to the organization of research.
I do agree with your comment, yes, definitely. I think it's a strong risk. And at the level of the institute, it's considered as a risk, so we don't want to go too far in that direction, because we feel that it would create perhaps negative results at medium and long term. It's also one question that we have, it's how we can engage people more in long-term projects, in long-term cooperation, because we can see that the sharing of values is not so real. And we can see that people are dismissing a lot from networks from month to month. And so it's how we can engage institutionally people. So it's perhaps through a stronger doctoral network in link with industries, for example. So Marie Action, for example, for us, it's a way to structurize a bit what we are doing and to keep in mind those goals without the risk of too much agreement. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Jérôme. Peter, please.
Hello there, Professor Peter Stokes from the UK. One of the things that strikes me really when we have these conversations about what I would call pan-representative organisations like your own is the relationship of rhetoric and reality between corporations and pan-organisations. I'll explain that we have a shift in the rhetoric at the moment towards sustainability, circular economy, responsibility, and one wonders, of course, whether how much of this is genuine or a marketing shift or a PR shift or etc. And that points us really towards, well, okay, what's the reality? And the reality is, of course, that we know that in terms of responsible business and sustainable business, we have made progress in a lot of regards. But I would argue and suggest that a lot of those progresses have been marginal rather than absolute. So the model hasn't changed radically. And that means that the model remains, while we might argue stakeholder-orientated now, shareholder-oriented and profit-oriented. And, you know, as Drucker said, returning to the past to understand the future, as Drucker said in 1959, you know, when the profits go soft in the second or third quarter, two things disappear from the organisation: the training budget and the soap in the toilets. Basically, profits is the really important thing. I really wonder if it's the same, actually, about responsible management, sustainability, stakeholder care, etc. I would value your thoughts, please.
Thank you, Peter. Jérôme?
Thank you for this stimulating question. Yeah, for sure, the reality of the impact, and it's definitely a question that we want at the Institute to be part of a general, I will say, questioning and developmental research on the mapping of sustainability in the management education world, what we are doing at different levels, how it's interacting, and what are, in fact, the way of seeing evolution in long term. But indeed, I'm sharing the risk of having more discourse on that than the reality at the end. What decide at the end, it's always it's also the question of the surveillance of the organization. So we are facing at the end some of the reality of the cost of labor. So yeah, but it's very stimulating.
Thank you, Jérôme. Very shortly, please.
I'm Marc Bonnet, Professor of Management here at the EIASM, and also past chair of the practicing committee of the Academy of Management in the US. And the debate in the US regarding this subject matter is about the need for a paradigm shift with doing research not on society and organization, but with doing research not on action, but in action, doing research that is purposeful and impactful and we have to be inspired by medical research, which is popping out nowadays, but the need for giving momentum to it. And thank you for BSI to contribute to this evolution.
Thank you very much, Mark. Making research not on, but with organizations. Jean.
I don't know whether it's a matter of organization, but I am sure that we have a state to face, which is technologies. I'm sure you haven't prepared or written your exposé with ChatGPT, but I am sure that you could have, and that it would have been a very nice speech too. For the first time in mankind, we are coping with the fact that a machine, a tool, is able to write. We have to cope with a new type of author. What does it mean for these organizations which keep the tradition going on when the technologies are changing?
Thank you, Jean-Marc Carola, for highlighting this point, and thank you again, Jérôme, for your